Another Utah football player has entered the transfer portal. What's going on? We're breaking it down on today's Locked On Utes.
You are Locked On Utes, your daily podcast on the Utah Utes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making Locked On Utes your first listen and view of the day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Happy Monday, everyone. My name is JT Wistrcill, former intern inside the University of Utah Athletic Department. Excited to be joined by UteZone's Ethan Pearce. And Ethan, talking about what's going on with Utah, there's a lot of crazy things in men's basketball we got to get to. Portal ads. Utah plays a game today in the Crown. That's right. The current men's basketball team is still playing. If you forgot, I don't blame you. Gianna Kneepkins is transferring. That's massive for women's basketball. But for football, the transfer portal additions keep piling up for Utah, which is weird since we're in the midst of spring ball. And I think what's also really strange is there's now been multiple transfers in the defensive backfield. As Blair Ungolo reported, Quimari Shamwell, plans to enter the transfer portal. 24/7 Sports has learned the former three-star prospect from Long Island Beach has 3 seasons of eligibility remaining. Shamwell is a guy who, when he was he was already mentioned as being a potential contributor for this team, but 5'11", 160, but 2 defensive backs gone already. I don't know what's going on, and Sharif Shaw's track record of coaching defensive backs is too strong for me to question him, but this is weird, Ethan. It's weird.
It is a little weird. With the timing, it can kind of you can think of it 2 different ways, right? With spring ball's starting up, maybe something happened with the depth chart, or you had some more conversations with coaches, kind of figure out, maybe I'm not going to be used in the exact way that I was anticipating, and so go find somewhere else to play. And you can't fault anybody for doing that, but I think that's one way to look at it. And then the other one is just, I guess it just happened to be the right time for him, right? It just everything makes sense for everybody to make their own choices when they need to make them. So
if you're a former athlete listening to this, I would love to DM or leave a comment in the YouTube.
Yeah,
what benefit is there for transferring now? Why not wait till after spring ball, compete, develop? I don't see how it benefits a player to leave early. Maybe there's things I don't know about it, having not gone through the process, but either way, that always surprises me here. So I think Utah's okay in the cornerback room still. It feels like, between this and then you get Sammy Hunter, who also left. It's strange, but you look at still, there's a lot of guys on this Utah defensive backfield. Right now, I feel like it's going to be some combination of Smith Snowden, Blake Cotton, Elijah Davis. There are several other transfers in there and a couple other recruits as well that have made strong impressions and strides. And it's just a Utah defensive backfield. They're going to be fine. I think they'll be good. It's definitely just weird that you see a couple guys transfer. I think what also just makes this situation strange is Coach Sharif Shaw, Utah's cornerback coach, a couple weeks ago was asked about the nickel position and everything going on there. And he said, the first guy he actually mentioned was Sammy Hunter, which was interesting, but he said the guy who was poised to be the nickel was Quimari Shamwell, and now he's gone. So did that happen? And then he got passed up in practice. That's where this stuff gets so weird, Ethan, is when there's quotes not even 2 weeks old about what was going on, and now you're in the portal. So it's just a weird situation.
Yeah, it's just things move quickly in college athletics, man. It's things happen fast, and you end up, we don't know what happened behind the scenes, right? If Shamwell has, maybe he got a call from a different school, maybe some NIL conversations happened, right? Things can change quickly. So maybe the coaches knew, maybe they didn't know, maybe Shamwell knew, maybe he didn't know 2 weeks ago, but guys can, things can change on a dime in these day and age. So that's just how it goes.
The one thing that was very interesting, I'll say, I was prepping for this show a couple of days ago, and even before, just wanted more information on Shamwell. If I went to pull up his bio, it was an error. It wouldn't let me access his bio, which I thought was weird. I even texted someone I know, and I was like, hey, what's going on here? Someone who is usually in the know of what's going on. And they said, I don't know either. So we were like, that's weird. But Coach Shaw just talked about him. So it must be just a glitch or whatever. And sure enough, he's gone. So once again, it's very strange timing for how this plays out. It's the 3rd Utah player now to enter the portal. Down Engelman, the quarterback, entering it. And then Hunter, as well as Shamwell here now too, leaving. But like I mentioned, Ethan, I still have confidence in the Utah cornerback room. The coaching is too good, and there's still bodies in here that there's still so many good players in here, the potential to be good, that I'm like, especially when these are two unknown guys who left, I'm not overly concerned.
No, I'm with you. I think that, like you mentioned, the coaching track record speaks for itself. They've had plenty of guys come through Utah and go to the NFL over the years. So not to say the talent doesn't play a part, but, they'll get guys in there that they know can play, and I'm sure they'll be all right.
Yeah, you got guys like, I expect the starters to be Smith Snowden, Elijah Davis, Blake Cotton. But then after that, Rock Caldwell is a guy in there too. And there's some young players that have been making a strong impression. It also helps when you have strong safety play. And that's definitely what Utah is going to have. Teo Johnson, Nate Ritchie, and Rabbit Evans is a tremendous talent too. This is a Utah defense. They've had several quotes, Ethan, where they talk about like they want to bounce back and be who they were. Like they want to improve on last season's defense. I'm not sure they're going to improve on last year. Reminder, they were the second best defense in the Big 12, or at least the third. I think they were second, but like I don't expect a mass improvement. In fact, I think they're going to take a little bit of a regression just based on the talent they lost. But I still expect this unit to be really good on the defensive side of the ball. And I think the reason Utah has a chance to be really good is I expect the offense to make a huge leap forward, and the defense maybe taking a baby step back.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could see that. Like you said, it's a high bar, right? Like Utah last year, obviously tough for a number of reasons, but defensively they were still very stout. So that's been the calling card of this team for many, many years now, and just the culture that they've set. And so I think the defense will continue to be good. Like you said, a little bit of a talent loss, but you've got some younger guys coming up. You never know, really, they're going to look like until we see it. So you can always bet on Utah having a good defense.
You can. Morgan Scalley does too good of a job. All the coaches in there. But one thing I would bet on, or at least I'd say Utah should do, is they should go in the transfer portal. I didn't even mention, they lost Kenan Johnson at the time, like that wasn't one of their regular losses. And then he just kind of in the middle before we got to spring ball, he left too. So that's 3 DBs now. So even though Utah has their depth, I still think they should poke around the portal in this position, Ethan.
Of course, why not? Always be looking to get better. Always be looking to add talent and improve. And guys are entering at this time of year more often than they ever have in the past, right? It's just the transfer portal will continue to churn year round, and guys are going to be coming and going. There's always going to be names available for you. So, I expect the Utes to do their due diligence and go see what's out there for them.
Yeah, Cameron Calhoun leaves. I will say, based on everything that's been reported, the fact that he tweeted he was going to stay and then ended up going, that leads me to believe that was not a situation he was unhappy at Utah. It was a situation where, Ethan's making the NIL sign and the money sign. So, like, we all think, like, that's what he has to bet Alabama. Like, that's what it seems a lot like tampering was involved there, just based on how the events play out. CJ Blocker, a former 4-star, he actually came in the same class as Smith Snowden, just didn't see the same amount of playing time. He ends up transferring out too. So, a lighter defensive back room, but still one that has some talented veterans in it. And I've said for a very long time on this show, in Sharif Shaw and Morgan Scalley, we trust, and that faith will not waver based on the credibility they have built and the track record of how consistently Utah puts defensive backs, not just first team all conference caliber, but into the NFL ranks as well too. And I expect Samaya Vaughn to be joining that ranks coming up here very soon too. One thing that's also going to get underway very soon is the Utah men's basketball team. They're playing in the Crown, but before we even talk about that, Utah's already working in the portal to improve on next season. Wes Wilcox, the new GM who just got to Utah from the Sacramento Kings, now comes out to Salt Lake City. He's here as well too. So a lot happening in Salt Lake City as the Utah men's basketball program gets ready to bounce back. And we are going to tell you what the new additions that Utah is trying to land look like in one moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you a chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, even who's cutting down the nets. I love picking my personal favorites. I've got my eyes on a few underdogs this year, and FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game procs. You can also just stay in the action with tournament games happening almost every day. There's always something exciting to bet on, and we got the Final Four coming up this weekend. FanDuel app is easy to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and join today the college hoop action all tournament long. Women's tournament still going on. How about as well, not just the men's tournament, what else is there? Not just college basketball. We have the NBA still going. We have NHL going on. MLB baseball is back. FanDuel is the place to be. Make sure you go sign up. New customers get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So visit FanDuel.com to get in on the college hoops action all season long. Today's episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by Post District. Discover Post District, home to 4 of Salt Lake's newest and most stylish apartment buildings. The Register, Post House North, Post House South, and the 801 Flats. Each residence offers its own unique take on luxury urban living, with features like waterfall kitchen islands, floor-to-ceiling windows, vaulted ceilings, and spacious patios, and walk-in closets too. You can enjoy premium amenities, including the city's largest residential gym, a year-round pool, golf simulators, massive TV wall for sports watch parties, and more, all anchored by a one-of-a-kind community. Step outside and find yourself immersed in Salt Lake's hottest dining and nightlife scene, with award-winning spots like Urban Hill, Men's Show Ramen, Level Crossing, Melancholy Wine Bar, and Sunday's Best, just steps away. Whether looking for a studio 1, 2, 3 bedroom or penthouse, you can find your perfect home today by visit liveatpost.com or call 801-590-6247. Make sure you mention this ad too for an exclusive incentive. Visit liveatpost.com or call 801-590-6247. Mention this ad for an exclusive incentive. Make sure you discover the Post District today, home to 4 of Salt Lake's newest and most stylish apartment buildings. Head over to liveatpost.com or call 801-590-6247 today. Ethan, before we talk about the men's basketball team that is still in action at the University of Utah, Alex Jensen is not on campus yet. He's still finishing out the year with the Mavs, but Chilius and Wes Wilcox, Utah's GM, and Chilius, the assistant coach, are hard at work trying to build this Utah roster. Utah had 3 players on campus all ready for visits, which, I mean, we can talk about what the guys offer in a second, but we already see the portal going off. I'm really excited that Utah's hitting the ground running this quick, because in today's era of college basketball, you have to.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They've been talking to a lot of guys over the last couple of days and weeks. It is definitely an interesting situation, right? With Alex still finishing out the year with the Mavericks, but they've brought in a couple of guys that I think they really trust to do some recruiting, and they had a couple of guys visit on campus over the weekend. So, going to be interesting to see if that can materialize into anything.
You got Isaiah Watts, who came up, who is the son of a former Supersonics legend, Donald Slick Watts, who was in town too. He was Washington State last year. Then you got guys like Cameron McDowell too, former Georgia Bulldog, who was then at a D2 school and had a big year there. He's got interest from some other D1s as well. And Delic as well, the former Pitt player too, which feels like a good talent pool of guys that, hey, especially if they have offers from some of the best schools, that Utah's poking around in the right places.
Yeah. It's interesting. They've got a short list. It's hard to know what they really need to be targeting until we know who's actually coming back, right? Because they've got a handful of their own players in the portal right now, and we're kind of up in the air seeing like which of their guys on the current team might potentially be able to come back for next year. But I think they're just bringing in guys that they know can play and know could kind of fit anywhere, and guys that they're excited about developmentally. So I think that's what Watts is. He's a guy that, I was watching some film on him this week, Isaiah Watts, and he's a good shooter. The numbers were a little below where I expected them to be, honestly, after watching the tape. Like they had him around 35% from 3. But I thought that he was a lot better shooter than that. I would expect those numbers to go up next year, depending on where he plays. But I think that there's a lot of potential with him kind of as an off-ball guard, guy that can provide some scoring and complementary playmaking. Did a lot of really, really good things at Washington State last year. So I'd be excited if he was able to come to the Utes.
That'd be massive. And you know what else Utah needs to do better is just score the ball next year. That's what Cameron McDowell does incredibly well. I mean, talk about a guy who averaged 27 points per game. I know it was at the D2 level, Northwestern Oklahoma State, but 27 points per game too. And I mean, this is a guy who had 16 points the year before. Like, that's a massive leap. Anytime you're scoring at that high of a level, and that's hard to do. Like, Ethan, there's not a ton of 20-point per game scorers across college basketball at any level. So the fact that he was throwing up 27, that's just, hey, get him to Salt Lake City, and we know he's someone who can fill it up.
He's a player, man. I didn't get a chance to watch him too much this week, but I'm going to do some more scouting on him coming up. But seems like a guy that's just kind of one of those microwave scoring guards. Obviously, 27 points at any level is impressive. So that could be an interesting addition for sure.
And then you get Delic, a guy, former freshman at Pitt, who's going to transfer, who's in the portal right now. Average only 3 points a game, but hey, young guy, got a chance to, and he was a guy who, when he played professionally in Bostonia, averaged 13 points per game. So this is another guy I feel like Utah is trending in the right way. And feels like this Utah team's doing a good job being aggressive. Miro Little's in the portal, which that one's he's going to go. But we feel like Keanu Dawes is a guy we'd love to see them bring back. Jake Wallin, a guy they'd like to bring back too. And it just feels like Utah basketball with the addition of Wes Wilcox, which was a huge get. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well as well as the question I'm going to pose. But I just feel like Utah basketball is going about everything the right way since Alex Jensen was brought aboard.
Yeah, I think that we are seeing them approach it with a little bit more of a professional mindset because college athletics is rapidly shifting, right? We all have known this with the NIL changes and the money that's happening and, conference realignment and all of this. It really has taken on more of a pro feel to it. And especially with NIL, it's almost like you're managing a salary cap. So bringing in a guy like Wes Wilcox, who has been known as a salary cap guru with a couple of different teams across the NBA, a guy that really knows how to manage those finances and can kind of help with recruiting guys and has an eye for talent evaluation as well. So I think bringing him in makes a lot of sense, kind of adopting a little bit more of a pro model, bringing in a guy from an NBA front office right after you hired an NBA assistant coach in Alex Jensen. So I think that is the direction the sport is trending. And if Utah can kind of jump on that train, maybe a couple years before a lot of the other teams across college basketball are going to make similar moves, I think that can only be a good thing.
I think it can only be a good thing too. But before we get too much into the future, the present's still here. Utah men's basketball competing in the Crown this afternoon at 1 p.m. Mountain Time to take on Butler. Utah 16-16, Butler 14-19. If you're like, hey, what's the college basketball Crown? Well, it's this new tournament going on in Vegas. Games are played in MGM. There's an NIL prize for the winner at the end. Butler currently the favorite just slightly, although ESPN Analytic prediction has Utah as a slight lean in this one. Utah has, guys like Keanu Dawes are still playing this. Ezra Sarr still playing in it too. Guys we expect who are already currently in the portal. Jake Wallin, another one. It speaks, I will say, to the job I've talked at length about. I feel like Craig Smith was dismissed too early, but there did seem to be a strong culture in place with this team. The fact that these guys are sticking around together and want to try and win something.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It seems like they kind of wanted to do this for the seniors, wanted to stick together and, practice together and play together for a few more weeks after the season ended. So definitely interesting, with everything else going on, obviously with the coaching changes and transfer portal and everything. I'm not sure we've ever really seen something like this before, but if the players wanted to keep playing, there's no reason to tell them no. So I think it's cool that they're going to get another chance to go out there and show what they can do and maybe make a little bit of a run in this tournament. We'll see.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Like I said, the numbers, them, Butler, very comparable. How's it going to play out? I'll maybe give Butler a slight lean just because there's been so much chaos at Utah. They did not win. Yeah. They only won one game since they dismissed Craig Smith, but never say never. Will be interesting to monitor and just see how this whole thing ends up going. Do you think Utah's going to make a run in the Crown, Ethan?
I think going against Butler, it's just so weird. Like most of this field is teams that are under 500. Like yes. This is not like an NIT. Yeah. It's not an NCAA tournament. Like these are just kind of like middle of the pack, middle of the road teams in decent conferences. So Utah fits right in that group, don't they? Right? That's what they were this year. Middle of the pack team from a pretty good conference. So yeah, they could beat Butler. If they win, they're going to play the winner of George Washington and Boise State. I think Boise State is considered by most people to be probably the best team in the field. So if Boise State ends up getting through, that could be a really tough matchup for them. But I don't know if I see them making a run. Like you said, a lot of chaos, a lot of weird stuff going on with half the rotation in the portal right now. It's hard to know how they're going to come together and play. But like we were kind of talking about, it's a good sign that they wanted to stick together and keep going, keep the season on. So maybe they can kind of, pull together and get a couple of wins here, but I'm not holding my breath for anything. It's just kind of one of those tournaments where it's like, all right, they're going to go play.
This is college sports are so different now. I just can't remember a time where we're going to watch a Utah team play any sport. And we're like, hey, maybe at most, two of the guys are coming back. And that's what it is. That's crazy to think we're going to watch a Utah basketball game, a Utah team play, and maybe two of them come back. And Ethan, there's a chance it's a completely different roster, which is just wild. And even just taking this, I'm curious to see how that affects fandom and things. Football's a little different, but just the amount of turnover.
Yeah.
Now, for Utah football, it was a great thing. It's like you need to completely reshape your offense, and you can do that really quickly. But even for basketball, it'd just be funny. Like I imagine the kid, like little Billy, just throwing him random out there. He's going to go like, oh, I can't wait to see so-and-so again. Well, he's not here anymore. He entered the transfer portal. So it's just interesting how legacies and things will be so different now too, because of the portal. Like you're not going to have many 4-year guys.
Yeah, the era of a guy committing and you being able to feel reasonably confident that you're going to see them in your team's jersey for 4 years, that's over. You know, there's not a thing where you can just say, oh yeah, like this guy's going to, we know we've got him locked down. Like it's almost like free agency for your entire roster every summer. Yeah. Because you just gotta renew contracts, figure out the NIL, and there's no regulation on it whatsoever. And so you just have no confidence at all. And it goes both ways, right? It's players wanting to transfer and make a lot of money. But also Utah just got a new basketball coach, and he might not want some of these players on his team for next year. He didn't recruit them. He didn't sign them, you know? So it's kind of a both ways thing where it's a partnership. You're trying to figure out what makes sense for both sides. And so I think that people trying to say that the players are being disloyal, they're just doing what's best for them, just like the school is doing what's best for them as well. So that's just where we are.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. This is something where, especially whenever your coach leaves, everyone should be allowed to go, in my opinion. Like that, you 9 out of 10 players commit to a coach, not the school. So as soon as the coach leaves, you should get to go. And I have no issues with the portal. I think there are things that drive me nuts about it. Like it's open, right? The fact that we have players actually signing with other places, like guys announcing they're entering the portal, I'm fine with that. The season's over. But the fact that we have guys committing on visits and some of that stuff, that's where it's just like, gosh, we had tournament games actively going on. There's a couple years ago, Duke was in the college football playoff. Their backup quarterback wasn't on the team because he wanted to go land a starting job somewhere. Like that's where, to me, there's issues and things I hope eventually can get resolved. Am I hopeful they will? No, I don't think they will. I think this is what college sports are going to be in general moving forward. But it was in the best interest of everyone that Utah does mostly reshape their roster. It's just weird to think like next year you could come watch a Utah basketball game and not a single person that was on last year's team could be there. It's wild the direction this sport is heading in, Ethan. And just speaking of the portal, even we have another player who entered the portal, and it's a surprise. Gianna Kneepkins, the Utah women's basketball. Honestly, I think what she'll go down as is a legend, someone who helped transform this program. Her first year, her, Jenna Johnson, Lynn Roberts, like they took this team to the Big 12, to the Pac-12 title game versus Oregon. Then they had a chance to, even a couple years ago, they had a chance to beat LSU that went on to win the tournament. Like Utah basketball transformed, and Gianna Kneepkins was absolutely one of the biggest ones. She does have her grad year and redshirt as well because of the medical redshirt too. She decided she's going to enter the transfer portal too. My first thought is just, heck of a career at Utah, and wish her the best going forward. It's definitely a tough loss for Utah, but hey, it's the portal, and we don't know what else is out there. Gianna's a heck of a player.
I am mostly surprised that she is not just entering the draft. That's kind of what I expected was that she would try to go to the WNBA this year. But she's going to take that extra season. You know, I think it's definitely a tough loss. I think the thing that's going to suck the most is not seeing that Utah next to her name when she does end up getting drafted next summer. Because you know, she's a Utah player, right? Been at Utah for 4 years. No matter where she plays next season, she's always going to be a Ute. So it's going to be, you know, weird seeing her in a different jersey. But I think, you know, the Utes or the women's basketball team is also in an era of transition, right? They have a bunch of starters that are graduating and then Gianna's decided to transfer. You know, we're entering Gavin Peterson's first offseason as the head coach. So it's going to be a different team next year. You know, they're going to have to kind of rebuild a little bit, see what some of their younger players can do, hit the portal, hit the recruiting trail, and try to build this team up from the ground, because the era with you know, Kennedy McQueen and Gianna Kneepkins and all the rest, Jenna Johnson, Inish Vieira, they're all moving on. You know, that time has passed. So they're going to have to find another young core to build around. And it's unfortunate that Kneepkins won't be there to kind of help usher that in next season. But it makes sense for her to do what she's doing, because the program is in a state of transfer right now.
19 points per game this last year. It's going to be incredibly tough to replace that. And we just mentioned the scoring. Like you look at Kneepkins, McQueen, Johnson, Vieira, that's a large chunk of Utah's points that are currently in the portal. So, and you mentioned too, new era. Like those players helped usher in this era. now it's a new era. Like, this team probably has an uphill battle to being an NCAA tournament team again next year. You just don't lose players this level and continuity. That we just talked about how rare it is 4-year players. Utah had a bunch of them in their program. I trust Coach Peterson. I think he does a great job. But like, if you're telling me Utah missed the tournament next year, I'm not surprised, because it's not easy to replace all that.
No, it's not. And hopefully they've got, some guys that are current, or some players that are currently on the team that they can kind of, show some more next season, right? Good season from Maddie Wilkie. I think that we're going to see her kind of step into a little bit more of a role next year. Reese Ross, same thing. They've got some other young players on the roster that hopefully can kind of be ready to play a few more minutes next year. And we'll see what they can do in the portal. I don't think they're gonna roll over and just look at it as a rebuild. They're not just going to say, "Oh yeah, we're okay with winning 7 games in conference next year, as long as our freshmen get some experience. We'll be ready to go in 2027." Like, that's not how they're going to look at it. They're going to try to win. So you're right; it's going to be an uphill battle. We're not really sure what this team is going to look like next year, but it's an exciting challenge for them for sure. And they've built up enough trust. I know that not having Lynn Roberts anymore sucks, but Gavin Peterson was handpicked by her to be the successor. He's been around the program for a long time. So I think he's earned enough trust as well. And I'm excited to see what he can do in his first offseason as the head man.
Yeah, I have no doubts about him. He's a dang good head coach. He proved it this year, getting this team to the tournament, even though they lost in the first round, disappointing against Indiana, to get there, losing so much, coaching search, losing Alyssa Peely, like, that's tough. And the fact that I think it's just going to be an uphill battle is just simply for how much they're losing yet again. But the Utah women's basketball program has done a great job, and they'll obviously hope to continue to do that. We'll monitor their additions in the transfer portal throughout the offseason too. Ethan, I really appreciate you coming on. Please let everyone know where they can find more of your work at.
UteZone.com. We've got, basketball portal stuff. I'll be talking about the game that's happening, the Crown tournament that is still apparently going on.
The whole thing.
And spring football in full swing. So UteZone.com, check it out.
Ethan, thanks for making the time to come on.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
That's going to do it for today's Locked On Utes. Back with you tomorrow, talking some recruiting. Utah landed their first commit in the class of 2026. We'll tell you all about them and more of the recruits that are trending in Utah's direction on tomorrow's show. Hope you'll join us then.